down to the Cutting Matters podcast. I'm Alistair. I'm with my colleague Ellen.
Hello, everybody. We're at a different set today.
Yeah, this feels a bit weird. We are not on our normal studio. We are down at Target Transfers today, and we're joining Molly and Andy from Target Transfers. So we are here because we are doing a special event tomorrow, aren't we, Ellen?
Yeah, it's the Vinyl Summit 2022. Nothing that's ever happened before. And it's less than 24 hours now to go.
Yeah, we've been planning this for quite some time with you guys, haven't we? Basically, we've just finished recording a podcast for Andy and Molly's channel, which is the Target Transfers podcast. So we've just been grilled for the past hour. So
it's our turn to grill them.
Yeah, it's our turn to get. It's like,
I'm nervous
now. So introduce yourselves, guys.
Yeah, who are you?
Okay, so I'm Andy.
I'm Molly, so I didn't know if you were going to keep going.
Yeah, so we are from Target Transfers. Target Transfers are a heat transfer manufacturer based in Braintree in Essex, but we're also part of the Styles family. So Styles is the world's leading manufacturer of heat transfers, heat transfer vinyl and heat presses, and have been for 90 years now. Since 1932 was there when they first started. And they are actually the inventor of CAD cut flock. So literally the first to put adhesive onto flock vinyl, cut it out, die stamping, or it would have been at that time. So a long history of heat transfer vinyl within our organisation. So we are essentially the heat printing UK, essentially, where you guys, I said in our podcast, you are vinyl cutting UK, but we are heat printing UK. So anything that can be heat applied to fabric or textile, we've got you covered.
No, that's great. So we are down at, obviously we're filming our Cutting Matters podcast, but using you very kindly donated the studio.
Yeah, it's nice chairs, comfy.
Chairs.
And we'll be putting in a request now for us to upgrade.
Yeah, we need to get some nicer chairs.
Big ones.
But basically, we've come down here because tomorrow we are doing, tomorrow for us, but by the time I listen to this in the future, will be in the past. But it's the very, very first Vinyl Summit. So tomorrow we are basically going through the whole kind of business way of what materials, what machinery, everything that you need to basically start your own T-shirt business, isn't it? Yeah. We have been speaking about this for it's been going on months now, hasn't it, really?
Yeah. I think we're all very passionate about making sure that everyone has the right education to start and grow right, and there's not enough education out there for people in the heat printing industry and garment decorating industry. It's a £1 billion industry in the UK. It's probably one of the biggest industries, but was barely anything at university to cover. I mean, we've had the London College of Fashion in here, and they had one press between hundreds of people. Wow. So I think when people leave school or university and they want to start a clothing brand, they might have some of the business intel, and they've probably got some really fantastic design ideas. Or if you're into more on the fabric side, there's a lot more resources. But actually, putting a logo onto a T-shirt, there's precious little out there. And we thought we're the leading manufacturer of heat transfer vinyl. You guys have the best cutting machine out there anywhere in the world for cutting heat transfer vinyl. So let's join together and give something back to everyone and make sure that everyone that listens to our podcast and consumes our content is part of our business. They're all partners, aren't they?
Yeah.
Everyone that's listening is a partner. So I want to make sure that you can grow your business sensibly and also scale it.
Yeah. Now, our relationship with Target is we supply Target with our cutting plotters from both the Silhouette range
through to the Graphtec, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Graphtec plotters. So, from your point of view, why opt for why as a business have you opted for Graphtec and to work with Silhouette? Why does it work for you?
I think for us, because we have, as being part of the Styles Group and Target Transfers, its own 40-year history, is that we are known for having the best quality out there. So the best quality heat transfer vinyl, best quality heat presses, everything we do is always leading the pack. We think of new innovations for heat presses all the time, how we can improve everything. So it's really important for us to make sure that we have a cutting partner that can kind of match not just the quality, but the ambition of where we're going. And we found that with Silhouettes and Graphtec, it's just so easy to use. They're so reliable that any of our customers could pick one of those up and get started with the right education. Yeah. And they're going to, we always say to people that come in is that we want to make sure that they spend most of their time doing sales and marketing. We don't want them to have to be messing around of getting the press settings right. They don't add value by tinkering around of cutting a vinyl or heat presses, do they? They add value by getting more business in, and we can teach them how to be more efficient and more productive with their existing business, so then they can get even more business on top of that. So I think for us it's that quality level that you get from a Graphtec and Silhouette. It's like, okay, we know that we can hand that on to one of our customers. We have the support from you if anything should go wrong. But it's like, I can't even remember last time we had to phone up about a Graphtec cutter, in all honesty.
No, what's the thing? They're reliable, aren't they?
They're so reliable. Yeah, so reliable. I mean, the Silhouette, a little bit more hands-on with the Silhouette, because you find that those that use a Silhouette machine are completely new to it all. Whereas a Graphtec, people kind of understand it, done their research, they know how and what the Graphtec machines are used for. But we've been working together for like a good couple of years, haven't we?
The relationship was, I've been here 5 years now, but it was long before that I even started that Target's been selling Silhouette and Graphtec machines.
Yeah, I've been with Graphtec 5 years myself, well, 5.5 now, and that relationship's been, I think you guys were one of the first people I was introduced to at one of the first trade shows I went to, as obviously like a long-term partner for us as a reseller. So yeah, the relationship does go back. So in terms of like the plotters and your massive plethora of vinyl that you've got, really, do you have any kind of, if you've got somebody who wants to buy a plotter, they're buying it to cut a specific type of heat transfer vinyl that you supply, or is it quite kind of mixed?
It's quite a mix, really. We have such a different range of customers. It tends to really fall in, like, most people will start, what we call sports and extra, is like a flex vinyl. So this is our number one vinyl. You put it onto cotton t-shirts, and it's not in black and white. We've got over 40 colors in there. And most people start out with that, and then, okay, what else can I do? I've got this machine now. What else can I try? There's a lot of people do that. Or some people will be like, they might have a niche that perfectly fits a particular type of vinyl. So, for instance, we have lots of cheerleading companies, so they like our range of glitter because we've got so many different colors and it's so easy to cut and weed. Or there might be a sports company, so they want our stretchy vinyl or a blocking vinyl. So it's kind of a bit of everything, really. We kind of, it's much like yourself, we have people that start off buying Silhouette cutters from us, upgrade to a Graphtec, and then they kind of start to add more options into the repertoire off the back of that as well.
Yeah. Do you get many samples come through for heat transfer?
Not these days. Used to when I first started with Graphtec, but no, not really, to be honest. No. I mean, when it comes to the thicker material, so the high build, again, that's not something that I've used before, so using it today was a dream, nice and easy cut. Whereas when we first heard about this material, it's really thick. So even I was a bit like, I'm not too sure how this is going to cut well, but it literally cut like a knife in butter. It was lovely.
Yeah, it didn't take many tries, did it? I think 2 or 3, and we had the right setting, and that was a bit of testing, so that was really good.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been doing the high build stuff for now?
God, as long as I can remember.
Yeah, quite a long time.
Because I remember stumbling across it. I'm not sure if it was just before or just after COVID. I think we got a phone call from somebody and they said, "Oh, I've seen this special, like almost like rubber heat transfer vinyl." It wasn't something I was aware of at the time. And they were asking for cut settings. Obviously,
I remember this.
We were like, I have no idea.
I got the phone. I was like, "Do you guys do this material?"
And it turned out it was you guys who've done it. So seeing it today for the first time, and obviously seeing obviously you did the demo and obviously the video content. What do you think of it as a product?
It was lovely.
Yeah.
I thought that it would have had to have a few goes, but with the right blade and the right settings, like you say, it was really easy to work. And even weeding away was quite nice, because you find sometimes with thicker materials it can be a bit of a struggle, in the corners, depending on like the size of the design. But even by accident, I did a design which was really, really small, and that cut nice as well.
I find HTV is always it's the easiest stuff to weed out anyway, because whereas with adhesive vinyl, it can be a bit tricky at times because you're pulling that vinyl away from your carrier sheet. The carrier sheet on HTV is sticky, so what you're peeling away, it still remains stuck there. It's a lot easier. It's a lot nicer process.
Yeah, we're using your tools as well, weren't we? The weeding
the LED
tool.
weeder, yeah.
LED weeder, yeah. That was good.
I might have to look at getting some of those off you for our memory.
Yeah, we should.
It's a crowd favourite, isn't it? Everyone loves it.
It's a little LED light that got me.
So we have, obviously, we've just spoken about we're the distributor for Graphtec. curtain systems and the silhouette, and that's what you guys supply from us. We do also have a bit of a other relationship where with our craft store website, we also supply your would you class them as hobby heat presses, or?
I guess they're probably starter heat presses. Yeah. So
we supply your range of Happy Fabric heat presses.
Yep.
And they're great pieces of kit, especially if you're just starting out, or if you've got a smaller at-home workspace. They fit perfectly into that niche, and
they're very popular.
They're really popular.
They're really popular. I think I remember using one of like the first models, like the really small, they're still kind of the same sort of size, and I thought this is really easy to use. They're just nice.
And with the Happy Press 4s, there's more functionality to them now, isn't there?
Yeah, they've had a real upgrade since the 3 when they've been out for about a year now. But yeah, really big upgrade with the auto open option, the drawer feature. It's really, really cool now.
Because I had a question the other day, and it was kind of something that was answered for you before, but it's quite interesting to talk about on here, because obviously we can cut this out and use it to speak to our craft store followers. But somebody emailed the other day saying they bought a Happy Press 4 a couple of months ago, and now they can see the benefit of having the auto open where they didn't do that. And I've been told today that potentially there is an upgrade coming for that.
Yes, so one of the things we wanted to build into was to make it very easy for anyone to upgrade it. So sometime next year, there will be the option to add an auto open option. Potentially
to a price that they've already bought.
Yeah. Potentially even if you had an A4, you could even upgrade it to be an A3 size by changing the plates out as well.
Wow.
Okay. And another thing that I've seen mentioned is at the moment, the way it's the top plate that's heated.
Yep.
But there's also going to be an option for a heated bottom plate.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Why would you need both?
Yeah, what's the benefit for that?
It depends if you're using heat sensitive materials. A lot of our customers, because we kind of have a bit of a overlap for Happy Press with things like sewing, people using like jersey fabrics or things that are kind of a little bit heat sensitive. So if anyone's ever had that box around their design, we call it a bruise mark or a heat press box. If you heat from inside, you can, because what's happening is that fabric with too much polyester or stretch into it, it basically sort of around like 130 degrees, it starts to scorch because that's the burning point of the material. There's nothing you can do about that. You can't treat.
So if that creates that box,
yep.
Does that come out in the wash after a time, or is it if you've got that box, if you bought a garment and it's got that on? I've seen something recently with that particular issue. Does it fade over time, or is that it?
It depends, doesn't it?
It can kind of really. It's a kind of case by case basis, unfortunately.
Right.
But the thing is, you don't want to be in a position where you hand something over to your customer and say, "Yeah, don't worry about that; it'll come out in the wash." Or
it's not going down well.
If you leave it a day, it'll fade away because it can be like, "No, I'm not paying for that. I want my money back."
Okay.
Because that's. You can expect someone to do that because the other thing is if you expect someone to wash it for something to happen, then you're like, well, you washed it, you've violated the warranty at that point. Right? You can't send something back you've washed, unless it's like shrunk in half.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't send stuff back because they'll get it back and be like, well, this has clearly been washed or tumble dried. You're not getting a refund. You can have it back, or that's it.
So let's, for instance, say someone's bought the Happy Press 4 and they've then upgraded it in the future to have this heated bottom plate.
Yeah.
So does that mean when they're pressing, both plates are heated, or the top one then turns off and you just press with the bottom plate, or how does that work?
So we'd always put a little bit of heat on the top, but it means you can put it underneath the burn point. So say it's 130 when something scorches. You could set the top to be like 110. And do the bottom at 160. So on the worst case scenario, there's a mark on the inside of a top, which no one ever sees.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it means that it tends to go completely at that point anyway.
Okay.
But it means that the top part, where anyone's going to see you wearing it, there's no mark on it at that point.
Right. That's interesting, isn't it? That's good. Yeah. It's just nice. It's a nice package, which obviously with the upgrades that you're going to be able to get for it in the future.
Yep.
As people's businesses expand, and we're seeing people who are buying these presses, they're on, for me, looking at where the sales are coming from and the traffic, I think they're a very on-trend item. I think a lot of people are going towards, like for us, during lockdown, PPF went mental, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it's
the paint
huge.
protection films.
Huge.
And I think now a little bit of trend has gone towards people doing personalisation in garments. So these have really kind of taken off well for us. And having the ability to have a machine there, which is very good spec, but obviously the option to then augment that machine and make it better with other bits and bobs to fit other garments, it's a great tool for longevity of use, isn't it?
Yeah, it means you can make it very versatile that way.
That's the word I was looking for. So there's always bits and bobs. I don't know whether you guys know this, you might do. Obviously, you've got the Graphtec cutters. You can actually, do you ever get questions asking you about the accessories and stuff that you can put with them?
We do tend to get questions about the blades and the stands and the baskets. I mean, it doesn't tend to veer away too much from heat transfer vinyl, but yeah, everyone always wants to know how to be quicker and faster, more efficient, how to get best results, or how can I do something? I had an idea for something. How do I do this?
Yeah.
It might be particularly trickier cut style or something like that. Yeah.
Because I don't know whether it would work. I mean, just thinking out loud, really, there is an attachment for the front of the C7000, like a, it's what they call the sheet tray, carrier table. Obviously, with heat transfer, the way it is normally off the roll, it comes through the back to the front of the machine. But do you ever get anybody asking that they need more support out the front of the machine for what they're doing?
I mean, no, to be honest with you, because everything that we have is like with Happy Press, it's a drawer function. Likewise with the Hotronix presses, they always have something, but because all our presses are so sturdy and have worked out that weight ratio, means that nothing's ever going to get knocked or hang off. So if you put t-shirt on, it's because you've got that foam mat, it will stay on there, it will hang off the sides, it'll sit perfectly for you that way.
Yeah, okay.
In regards to like accessories, like jumping off the back of what you've just asked, is there any accessories for heat press? I mean, I'm not an expert with heat presses. There might not be any, but is there any for the Happy Press, or, you know, moving on to the other heat presses that you offer as well?
So with the Happy Press, you've got different types of carrier sheet you can put on the top of it. So we always say put a release paper on the top of your design, no matter what you're doing, because one, it gives a little bit of protection to the t-shirts, but also means that if you make a mistake, you've got leftover bits of vinyl that you've picked up from somewhere and they're facing the wrong way. They could, you don't want them on your t-shirt,
ruin it.
or you don't want to stick to the top plate. You don't have to clean it. It means you've got that coverage. Or going back to heat sensitive garments, in the first instance, the first thing you should do is test different types of protector on it. So we have something, we call it Graphtec. It's like a Teflon sheet you can put over the top of it. And that way you can just kind of softens the blow of having heat applied to it. And sometimes that's enough of a solution anyway. There's always little accessories. You've got like different weeders, LED weeders. There's lots of little accessories with the Happy Press, or if you go upgrade to Hotronix press, there's so many accessories. You can change out the bottom plate on all of the Hotronix presses. So I think we've got 15 different base plate sizes and lower heated ones that are already here and ready to buy now. You can put things like, we've got a special cover for the bottom. So quick slips are a big one, like that is like the essential if you've got a Hotronix machine, because it means the t-shirt glides on and off.
Is this one you showed me before? Yeah. So
it glides on and off, and we were discussing this earlier about, you know, the Graphtec machine being great for productivity hacks. The Hotronix machine is the same, so you could save 10-15 seconds every time you're pressing something. I mean, that makes such a big difference. So yeah, there's so many accessories, like, because they're all of our Happy Presses and Hotronix presses built to be like Swiss Army knives of heat presses. So it means that, because there's not the kind of one size fits all thing that someone could be doing. You could be doing something with, as like a zip through hoodie, is much more difficult to do than a t-shirt. So you need to find a solution to make sure anyone can bring their dream of an end product into reality.
We very rarely see accessories go through without quick slips now. Like if people buy a heat press, there's always an additional lower platen and a quick slip. If people buy another lower platen, there's always the matching quick slip. It's very, very rare that we see a heat press go through without anything else. I think on the rare occasion, it's maybe like the dual air or the air that come with the quick slips and things like that. But 9 times out of 10, there's a few accessories in that basket as well.
Yeah, and I think, I'm sure it's probably the same for everyone that's listening to this podcast, is that choose to go into some form of cutting via heat transfer vinyl or sign vinyl or any other crazy things you can do with the Graphtec machines because you're passionate about it and you want to be geeky about it. So you're like, okay, there's a new accessory for my Graphtec. Yeah, I want that.
I want that, yeah.
I want a new media basket because that's cool. I want my machine to look tricked out.
Yeah, the thing with the media basket, they do make your machine look tricked out, but they also, it's not just a case of making it look tricked out, they actually do.
The beneficial, aren't
Yeah,
they?
They have
beneficial.
functionality.
Yeah.
They have reason.
They just look nice.
Yeah, they do give you actually more functionality in terms of increasing the tracking capability of the machine. So they're not just something that looks pretty, something you vinyl from dragging on the floor and getting dirty. They actually do give you something back. So we do 2 series of roll-fed cutting pliers. The FC, which is the higher spec model, they come with them as standard. But the CEs, because of where they're used, people don't necessarily, because they use more shorter runs, they don't necessarily need the media basket, but some people who want that, obviously, the cutting preferences that you get with the Graphtec, but they do want a bit more accuracy.
Not even that, they would just like protect the material as well.
Yeah.
So like dragging on the floor, you've got like a little holder there. So if you did send, 2 meters of jobs, it's then sitting in the basket, isn't it? Rather than on the floor gathering dirt and dust.
Yeah, but if it's building it, starting in a garage or something, you want to make sure it's not scuffing along that floor or something.
Yeah, I think they're a good investment long term, definitely. On a bit of a kind of podcast geeky thing, this is the first time we've done a podcast with another podcast channel. It's like the first collaboration. We had guests on the channel before, but we've never sat down with somebody else who's got their own podcast and things like that. So just for people listening to our podcast who might not be aware of yours, tell everyone about your podcast, what it's about, where they can find it. What made you get into podcasting, really?
Oh, what don't we do on our podcast? I mean, I think the biggest thing for us when we started it was, as Andy touched on earlier, the education side of our industry. It was lacking, and to an extent it still is from certain parts of it. But I think what we're doing and what you guys are doing in terms of the podcast, the video content and everything else that's bringing it more into the 21st century and being a bit more real with our customers about what we do and even things that go wrong. We make videos on how not to do things to show them why they should be doing it right, rather than everything being pristine and perfect all the time, and just being a bit more real and transparent with people. And I think that's been a big part of the reason we've wanted to do the podcast. Another reason would be just longer form content. It's very difficult to get all of the information that we want everybody to be aware of, whether that be the technical side of things for heat printing, business, efficiency hacks, anything and everything, into 10-minute or 5-minute YouTube videos is very tricky. So this has given us the opportunity to have those longer conversations and have the content there for the nerdier, geekier heat printers that want to hear it. And finally, to have other guests on, like we've collaborated with our colleagues in America. That's been really interesting. We've had some of our customers on talking about their businesses, their pros, cons, how they got started, giving other heat printers advice, just a really wide range of things, and something we've done recently, which I don't think this episode will be out by the time this one comes out, but we had our MD Martin on talking about business advice for people going into 2023, and I think spinning it in that direction now as well as just heat printing has given it another turn. So yeah, there's a whole reason for it, and there's a lot to come. But is that kind of what you'd suggest?
I think it's one of the things that we're quite aware of is that because our market is very broad, we do anything that can be heat applied. So anything from schoolwear to workwear to sportswear, clothing brands to fulfillment, is that we see everything that goes through. So I think we're in a unique position where we can look, here's a great business idea. So anyone that's listening, we're like, okay, who has an idea to make more money? If you've got a heat press, you've got a cutter.
Yeah.
This is what we're seeing out there. You should be phoning up this type of company and be like, yeah, I can do this for you. Mm-hmm. What do you think? How many do you need?
Yeah.
Or like, here's a new color. This is what's trending. You should be thinking about doing this for your clients. So trying to give that business advice to people to make sure that everyone that's listening can grow next year, the year after, have in 3 or 5 years time. I think we have sort of a responsibility to that. And to be honest with you, like Styles and Target Transfers, our business has been built on education, and that's kind of a big pillar of who we are. So to make sure that we can educate people, make sure that people can learn from other people's mistakes. They don't have to make any.
Are you kind of surprised that, from what I know, we are the only two kind of businesses that have a podcast? Are you surprised that more people haven't got into it before?
Definitely, yeah. I would say
Yeah.
so. I think I am and I'm not. Like, I am surprised because it seems like something that everyone should be doing, but then at the same time, it's almost like our industry hasn't caught up yet. There's still a few things that are stuck in the Stone Age, or there's a few things that need to be changed. It needs to be shaken up a bit, and I think we've started that process. But yeah, I was definitely surprised when I first joined. I've been at Target for 2.5 years now, so not as long as Andy, but obviously you did a lot of work on the marketing department before I joined, and then when I joined we grew it together, and we've just taken on a lovely another person who is sat behind the camera now. But I think what we've done has changed a lot of how our customers view education. But I was really quite surprised at what wasn't being done when I first joined. That it definitely shook me a little bit.
I think we just wanted to give the company a voice, because it's very hard, I feel, to have, when you're working in sales or something, there's always that trust wall. So of course I'm going to tell you it's the best thing since sliced bread, because I want to sell you something. But if you can get to know the people behind the product, and that we actually do care about what we're trying to sell and why we're trying to sell customers the products that we're selling, I will, if someone phones up, I don't do really much sales anymore, but if they're saying to me, I want a Cameo or I want a Graphtec, I'll work out what they actually want.
What they need
find
as
out
well,
what they
yeah.
need,
But it's about selling the right kit to that person for the stage that they're at. And I think
that's why we've got, like with yourselves, you've got an open space where the equipment's here to come and look at. We've got the same in Wrexham where we've got all the range of our different products, so people can come and have a look at them. They might come in with the mindset of wanting one machine, but then they see the capabilities of another one, or ideas will spark and they get to see different things. So yeah, it's really important to understand what that person's wanting to then help them.
We've had a lot of chats recently on our podcast about, maybe not even specifically about trying to sell someone the machine, but even just trying to sow seeds of ideas of what people can do with the machines. And maybe they've already bought a machine, they've already invested in it, but then we have a chat on a podcast and someone listens to it and they go, I didn't know my machine could do that. And then just allows them, and then eventually say that opens a door with some of their Cameo that they're doing, and all of a sudden that grows and they need an MC or they need a CE machine.
It's similar to the heat. It's exactly the same thing as the heat presses, as what Andy was saying a minute ago, that there's so many windows of opportunity when you've got that piece of equipment, but people don't utilize it to the full extent. And, some people don't want to, be working 24/7, and I completely get that. But there are so many things that don't take much time, like the lever stuff that we always talk about, personalisation now, and all the different effects you can get with heat transfer vinyls. There's so many things that people can utilize their press for that they don't. They're using it to half of its capabilities, and they could double their business, double their profits. And we just try and help people understand that and educate them on how to do it. And going back to your point earlier about having faces behind the brand, I remember that's something you said to me within my first sort of 6 months. We had the conversation of there weren't really any faces in front of behind the camera, and everything on our Instagram, everything on our website was very stocky. It was all just us filming it, but like from in front of ourselves, so we weren't in it. It was just the product. And that's been a big mission of ours, hasn't it, to put a personality behind the brand and have that sort of identification for customers and trust and everything else that comes with that.
Yeah, I think it's really important, especially it's just to grow trust with the people that you're trying to sell to and speak to them properly. If they get to know us as people, and we're not just trying to sell them something for the sake of selling something just to tick the box. So I've sold 5 plotters this week or whatever. You're actually selling them the right equipment for their job. I think that goes a lot further, especially in the future when they need to
upgrade.
Mm-hmm. They know who they're speaking
to.
It
works 2 ways though. I don't know if I've told you this story, but probably about 10, 11 months ago, it was quite a while ago, we'd not long been doing our YouTube video content, and we've been doing a lot more in front of the camera about our sort of transfers and presses, and my phone went upstairs in the office, and my phone never rings. Like, we work in marketing, people don't phone me, which I'm very happy about. But the customer service and the key accounts, their phones are ringing all day, every day. You know, people phone them, and if they have questions about stuff, they comment on our accounts. But if they want to have that in-depth conversation, they'll either come in or they'll pick up the phone. And somebody put a phone call through to me, and I was like, who is it? And they went, oh, I don't know, somebody asking about transfers. And I was like, really? So this, bless him, this older man, let's say, was like, Molly, I've seen your video. I want to buy some transfers. And I was a bit like, okay, you either need like customer service for that, or you can do that online. I was thinking, but bless him, he's obviously seen me, thought that like the only person to do it, and phoned me up, and I was like in the middle of editing another video, like, this is weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it works both ways.
Yeah, I guess there is a positive and negative thing about that. Like one of the biggest YouTubers in a certain field, he literally started out by just putting some videos on YouTube 10 years ago, and now in the sector he's in, from what started out as a couple of how-to videos, he's now in that sector. He's got the biggest following just from doing some YouTube videos. Back then, it just snowballed, and that's their job now.
I think that'll definitely continue to grow, especially in our industry. Like I think there's more of it in America than there is here in terms of influencers and things like that. But there's some amazing people out in the US doing such great work with, you know, presses, vinyls, all of that kind of thing. And there are a few in the UK, but I do really think with the way it's going, that will continue to grow and continue to change over the next few years.
Yeah, definitely.
I think as well, and I think it's so we kind of cover quite a lot of marketing stuff on our podcast as well, because we want to make sure that people are educated. But something that we're quite sort of conscious of is that we listen to marketing podcasts when we need advice. So that's why people, I assume they're listening to this because they're interested in cutting.
Yeah.
And they're interested in, okay, how can I improve it? But it can be quite a sort of lonely business sometimes. Those people are like, people listening might be the only person in their business. And they want to hear from other people in their business. I think it's kind of, you can almost be like a therapy listen to podcasts, can't it?
Yeah, it's become so popular since lockdown. That's why I got into the podcast. We've talked about this before, haven't we? But having a voice to listen to that understands the industry that you're in, or maybe it's not even talking about another industry, so like a very niche sport or something, but anything that you find, having someone to listen to glean that information from. If you're even too shy, you think, oh, it's a bit stupid for me to ask that question, but like maybe someone doesn't want to pick up the phone and speak to us.
You do find that,
or speak to you guys, that they go, oh, it'd be really stupid. I genuinely believe there's no such thing as a stupid question, but you might find people shy, but giving them the content in this form means they can have their questions answered without even having to ask the question.
Yeah. It's like the radio, isn't it? Like we listen to a radio and we get to know the presenter, and it's like part of our day-to-day life then, isn't it?
That's a good way of putting it, actually.
Yeah, you get to know them, and like you just said, there's probably things that people don't want to ask, or, you know, maybe they don't not thought about, and then it's put to them and they're thinking, oh, actually, and then that could help them, you know, with the day-to-day structure of work.
Yeah.
I think there's two sides to that. I think firstly, sometimes people don't want to pick up the phone and ask, or they don't want to drop a comment because they think it's a silly question. But then something that Andy said to me before, along the similar lines of sort of people being nerdy about specific topics, aka heat printing, vinyl cutting, is that sometimes if you are the only person in your business, your partner or your family and your friends might get a bit bored of you talking about it all the time. So it's sort of a place that you can go to nerd out, if you will, like on the things you're interested in without having to bore your friends and family. Like I go home and talk to my mum about work, and she goes, oh, you told me that yesterday. And I'm like, fine, I'll shut up then. Because I come in here and I'm like, Andy, I've had this idea. And he's like, go for it. It really like works both ways.
Yeah, a bit of a hive mind kind of situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So going back to, we spoke when we appeared on your podcast an hour ago, we went through kind of like the journey from buying a silhouette cutter through to buying a Graphtec.
Yeah.
What would be your kind of, someone comes to you and says, right, I'm not doing it, but I want to get into.
Like what are the differences? Like I was going to ask earlier on, with like the Cameo, you've got the upgrades to a CE 7000. What would be you've got your Happy Press, so that's for, you know, the sort of startup business. What's the next step from there?
So I mean, in all honesty, a lot of people actually tend to go mid-range. So we something that's been really interesting over the last few years, actually, I think because everyone is so much better at doing research on what they're buying. That's why I'm sure some people go straight into Graphtec and skip silhouettes sometimes now. And I think that's the thing, is that the most popular presses are actually things like the Hotronics Auto Open or the Fusion IQ, because people are actually, going back to your point earlier about, okay, what does the next year look like? Actually, I might as well just I want to buy like something that's going to, the Happy Press will last and last and last, but it's not going to be able to add as much functionality on as an Auto Open. You're not going to have 15 different types of platens. It's not going to have a dual timer. It hasn't got the quick slips to put onto. It hasn't got a caddy stand to attach it to.
Yeah.
So a lot of people actually, you know what, they've done their homework. They've done so much homework because we put so much content out there. Okay, I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to watch all these videos, either ours or on Stars TV. And I'm like, okay, so when they're like, I know which one I want to get. I want to buy the press for the next 5 years, because they're serious about doing it. They've because we've been always trying to be quite honest, like yourselves, is actually like, let's break down the specifics of what it takes to run a business like this. So a lot of people are spending around a sort of £1,600 mark. I mean, you can start off with a Happy Press or a Clan Basic, but it's all about what functionality matters to you. So some people are like, yeah, I need that auto open because they've got kids or dogs, the phone's going, they're like, I need to press to automatic open. So if I need to put a fire out, I can go and put a fire out.
Or if you forget, which I've done before.
Yeah, so you just forget before you get distracted. Or some people like, you know what, I really want that press to swing and draw, because I've got a really complicated design. I want like a nice heat-free workspace, or like we have these IQ machines which come pre-programmed with every vinyl recipe there needs. So you literally turn it on and hit, I need to do Sports Room Extra, push that, and it automatically starts heating up to the right temperature, sets everything to right press time, or actually I'm going to change the transfers. It does exactly the same, brings the temperature down, changes the settings. So actually, you know what, because they're nerds in a good way, they're like, right, yeah. It's the same.
Use that phrase in a positive way.
I'm sure there's some people listening who've got all their blades lined up in size order or something like that. Whatever the Graphtec equivalent would be, but they're like, yeah, do you know what? I really want the best of the best, because they know that, like, okay, Hotronics machines, literally, we've got them out of the back from the 80s, and you could turn them on and they'd still go. Yeah. That's how long they last. It's like,
some of the other Graphtec cutters that we do,
we
get people phoning up and they've got a cutter that's pretty much as old as I am.
It's
still in a way.
Exactly. So it all comes down to functionality. You pay the little extra increments you pay from an entry level to the most expensive, which has like 2 heads and it's propelled by compressed air. So you don't even have to pull the press down on that one. It all comes down to what functionality matters to you, who's going to actually be using it, and thinking what is important to them. Is it the auto open, or is it the air power? Or like, actually, some people like, do you know what, this is just the one I'm taking to an event. I'll just take the entry level one, so I'm just going to batter it for the summer months, and then I'll get a new one. There's all sorts of things, but there's a press for everyone. So no matter where you are on your journey, and they're really easy to pay off. I mean, like even the most expensive machine, it could be like let's say 500 t-shirts a year, and you could pay that machine off to pay like $7,000 machine. Yeah. So it's easy for anyone to get started with it. I would say, in all honesty, mid-range is where most people are kind of starting now.
I think people are, like you said, thinking more into the future.
Yeah.
And even though a Happy Press or a Clan Basic might be more doable for them in the present day, they know that in 6 months or a year's time they're going to need that other press, and they're going to have to spend out again. So they may as well just pay out a little bit extra now to not have to buy another press again for years to come, like decades.
Yeah, I mean, because we give a lifetime warranty on the heating element of Hotronics heat presses.
Right.
So that's they work.
That's how confident we are in them working.
So if I was to come to you and say, right, I've got £1,000.
Yep.
Which is probably not your mid-range customer I've just said, but I've got £1,000. I want to start a t-shirt business.
Where do I start?
What do I buy?
You'd probably go max for that one. If you had 1,000, I'd push you to the auto purely for future functionality, but you could go to the max. But the only difference with that one is that it doesn't have the digital pressure readouts, but you can still judge that by how far it comes down. It's just if you really want that complete accuracy. But the platens still come out. It has temperature, digital time and temp readout. It's threadable with a caddy stand. It's pretty much on par with the others.
what about, I've got £1,000 and I haven't got anything at all. Like, want to start the whole
I'd push
thing.
you to a bundle, Alistair, if I'm honest. We have some fantastic bundles on our website, and they're all, so all of our bundles are based, you can get them for custom transfers and for vinyl. So you get your press, you get a selection of accessories which you can add or remove based on what you want. So we don't give you like a selection and go, you have to have all of these. We've made them all customizable so people can choose. And they're all discounted as well, because obviously you're buying like a bulk order. And then there's also a selection of like heat transfer vinyl or custom heat transfer credit. So essentially you get your press, your product, your accessories, and all you need to buy is blank shirts and you're good.
Okay.
But yeah, so you probably, I would say it's probably got to be the Cameo 4 at that point. I think £1,000, if you've got £1,000, you probably want a Cameo 4, and then it's probably mid-range Clown Basic, something like that, I think, because
They're in our bundles, the cutters, aren't they, in the vinyl ones?
So that way you're getting a 40 by 40 centimetre heat press, and that's all capped up under that price. But yeah, it's very easy. I mean, that's a whole business.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got laptop and a phone anyway, and in honesty, Silhouette Studio you could do off your phone anyway for the most part, or like it's so easy to use. You don't need a Mac that's like $2,000 to run it. It's a simple.
It's not a big investment, is it?
No, it doesn't. It's not a software that's like hard on a laptop. So it's that would get you started, and then you can grow and add more presses as you get busier and you need more operators to come in and you want to do two at the same time. You absolutely covered then.
Out of interest, just at the moment, have you got anything that's kind of what your heat transfers that heat transfer vinyl that you supply? What's on trend right now? Is there anything that's like more on trend than
I'd say the high build that you mentioned earlier, that's big. And going back to your sort of question earlier, it's like you've not really seen much of it a few years ago. But part of that is because the demand wasn't as there. It's been around for a while, but now people are like starting to pick up on it. Like, okay, put it on the hoodies. Like, okay, people want chunky, bold finishes, and high build kind of fits the bill for that because it's 10 times thicker than the standard vinyl. It looks really bold. It's got a nice matte finish to it. It really stands out. So people are like, they're kind of going towards that one, and it's still only like 1055 plus about a meter. But again, because you're doing like small chunky designs for the most part, you could get 70 designs out of a meter of vinyl. So
how many colors does that come in? Is it just like
I think
a couple,
it's
Black,
7,
black, white, red, green, blue, yellow, silver, gold, 8.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Just recite the website in my head.
That's all the variations.
Some of them are over there.
Yeah,
I think I'd probably add as well that the sports film vinyl that we've got, and that also comes in Premium Plus, which is the 4-way sports stretch version. We released some new colours for that not that long ago, and we had one of our blank clothing suppliers in last week, and she was talking about their new colour releases for next year, and there were a lot of neutrals in there, some like pale yellows, some more beigey tones, and there was also a lot of sort of sage greens, all of which we have now available in the basic the best vinyl, so there's multiple different like beigey brown colors. There's a sage green in there, there's a really nice like dove blue, so all of the trending garment colors that we're going to be seeing, or we are seeing already, they can all be matched in the vinyls we've got
2023.
Basically, so that's quite good. And the high build, like Andy was saying, has been really popular for not just smaller designs but bigger as well. So it's very retail to see like your black on black with your chunky like capital text, and we've been seeing a lot of that, so I'm definitely expecting to see a lot more, especially after the educational content we filmed today. People will be experts on how to use it.
What is your favorite machine, your favorite heat press?
Beth's laughing.
I mean, in all, not just because it's the most expensive
taste. I see.
But for me, it's got to be the dual air fusion. I think because I'm a big one into like productivity hacks, incremental gains for heat printers, and we've been doing some videos recently, just like really deep diving into like advanced heat printing, and we're like, there's just so much time you can save. I mean, you can set it to turn on it automatically. things like that. So like we did a video the other day, like actually we just saved another 50 hours a year just because
That was today's 2-minute Tuesday.
Yeah,
How do you know?
so you could set it, say you start at 9, set it to come on at 8:45, and it means it's hot at 9, so no one's standing around twiddling their thumbs. So it means you're more productive. And it's two buttons. You don't have to do any manual labor. Just press 2 buttons and it sort of goes down automatically for you. So it's.
But then you've got the situation where your workforce gets upset because that 15 minutes that they would normally have to wait for the heat press, they could have been a brew. They can't now because they've got to start working. You know?
That's not your problem. In a very harsh manner.
If they got another. I mean, that one, because it's a volume machine, there's another hack where you can save another 50 days a year productivity-wise, just from the threadability and the quick slips on it. So they might get paid more because they've got more jobs coming in now. Business will be more successful. Their wages could go up.
No, that's great. I think we've basically come to an end.
Yeah, we covered everything.
We could speak for hours about all this, to be fair. But before we go, just let all of our listeners know where they can find you guys.
Shall I do it? Okay. So we are obviously on YouTube with the Target Transfers podcast. We also upload weekly heat printing videos to our YouTube channel. So I'd recommend subscribing to that so you don't miss out on any videos. We're on all the social platforms. So at Target Transfers on any account and you'll come across us. And then we also have our email newsletter, which is where we send out all of our information first. So all of our customers and subscribers to that are the first to know about anything, any new products, any discounts. So yeah, I'd recommend subscribing to that as well. And everything can be found on our website.
So thanks for joining us in your studio.
Thanks for joining us.
Molly and Andy. This is the Cook Motors podcast. Thank you very much.